What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Nerd Corner. I'm Lotus Sasakoi, the kid that never knows best. And in today's video, I'm bringing you my review of Chapter 3 of Samurai 8. So we actually do get to see a little bit of action in this chapter, although I will say that even though I thought via last week's chapter that the art was getting a little less cluttered, I have to say that in this week it actually was a little hard to follow some of the action scenes. And I guess the reason why it seemed like, you know, Akubo was giving the panels more room to breathe was just because there wasn't really a whole lot of eventful or exciting things going on in that chapter. It was mostly just dialogue. But in this chapter where we're seeing some actual fighting going on, it is again the way it was in chapter 1, where I'm kind of like, it's a little hard to tell at times what's actually happening on the page. That being said though, some interesting things did happen. We do learn a little bit more about the world and about the characters in this world, and I did enjoy it, so let's get into it. So this chapter starts off with several Bushi warriors arriving to the scene of the crime, or the scene of what they believe to be the crime, because if you recall last week in chapter 2, the pigs that were in that tank that shot Hachimaru out of the sky were actually causing a commotion as a distraction to alert people to come to that area so that they could go and attack this dojo. Now what their motivation is for attacking this dojo is still unbeknownst to me. But yeah, their plan seemingly started off as a success. Now at this waterway, there's actually somebody who, I'm not sure if they're some sort of civilian or a thief or a bandit, good guy or bad guy, but they actually attempt to attack one of the Bushi warriors, and they're just kind of like brushed off to the side. But we see that he tries to pick up the blade that the samurai dropped off the ground and unsheath the sword, only to find out that there's a thing called like a bio ID, and already we're seeing this combination of this futuristic setting but this historical concept coming together, come into play, because apparently you can't draw somebody else's sword from its sheath unless you own that sword. You can't draw it out because there's such a thing called a bio ID, which all the furthermore makes me question who this person is, to where they didn't know that, because like if that's a thing, that seems like something that anybody who wields a sword or is a samurai, knows about samurai, would probably know. So yeah, I still don't understand who this person was, but yeah, apparently there's a thing called a bio ID, and if that sword does not belong to you, it won't answer to you. You won't be able to unsheath it. Now, even though that's a thing, I wonder if that's also going to be something that's a rule that's going to be broken somewhere down the line, somewhere in the future, where it's like, okay, it's already been established in this world that unless you own that sword, you can't unsheath it. But does that mean there's going to be a samurai or a villain or somebody at some point who is able to unsheath somebody else's sword, even though they can't, just so that it displays just how powerful that person is, that they just break the rules of this world? It's like, yeah, you can, like, whatever, you pick my sword up, but like you can't unsheath it, and somebody does it anyway just to show how badass they are. I'm wondering if that's going to happen at some point. Anyway, after learning about the bio ID, we cut back to the dojo where we see Nanashi introducing himself to Hachimaru and saying that my name is Nanashi because I'm nameless, and Hachimaru just kind of rolls with it. But then we see several young people, whether they be students, disciples, random teenagers, whatever, run up to Hachimaru all goo goo gaga and all over him. It's like, yo, you're a samurai, you got a pet holder, he looks really dope. They're like really impressed by Hayataro, whose appearance is pretty badass, I'm not gonna lie. He kind of looks like he could have been like a Jubi or a tailed beast from Naruto or something. It's pretty sick. He still meows though, by the way, just throwing it out there, still meowing. But yeah, they're like, oh, you're so cool, and then Nanashi's kind of just like off to the side, just like all like unacknowledged or whatever, and just kind of shuffles away over to like the statue. He then proceeds to do what he does best and have this lonely conversation with himself via his left and right hand. Now, even though this whole conversing with his own hands thing is kind of weird to me, and just like, how lonely can one guy be? It speaks a lot about his character, in the sense that it tells us how self-aware Nanashi is, and I'm wondering if that'll come into play and help him become stronger in every sense of the word, you know, as the story progresses. Because him being so self-aware and knowing what his weaknesses are and what his downfalls are, and when you're aware of what those things are, it's easier to work on it. It's easier to improve it when you know what needs to be improved. That said, we get to see a glimpse of that in this chapter, because Nanashi actually does get to partake in a little bit of action. Now, I just want to say, while I was reading this chapter, I was really hoping that Nanashi just doesn't pick up a sword and all of a sudden he's just like this badass samurai, because alright, Hachimaru kind of did that. He kind of just immediately became a samurai. He's immediately apparently very strong, whatever. Main character, shonen battle series, alright, cool, I'll allow the main character to get away with that. But when you're introducing the side character who's like a huge wuss, really lonely, apparently very weak, both mentally, emotionally, and physically, like, I don't want you to just suddenly tell me that he just automatically becomes this badass samurai out of the blue too. And fortunately, that's not how they did it. He gets to partake in the battle, but not quite in the way that I was expecting, but hoping that they wouldn't do it. So the Pig Brothers attempt to attack the dojo, but immediately Hachimaru jumps into action and he tries to draw his blade to protect everybody, except the blade that he has isn't his, which is something that you may have noticed, but something that I didn't notice last week in chapter 2, because this actually was something that was pointed out to me by my homie Simba. He actually left a comment saying that when Hachimaru came crashing through the roof of the dojo, he dropped his sword, and the sword that he picked up was Nanashi's. And I didn't, that was just a little detail that I just overlooked at first. And he thought that maybe this man, when Hachimaru draws a sword, he's going to be like even stronger than before, because we already saw what he's capable of with the model sword that he brought from home. It's just like, it's a replica, it's not a real blade. Nanashi's sword is probably a real blade. And so he was thinking that maybe when he drew that blade, he was going to be even stronger. He was going to have like some overpowered sword slice that just like levels half the city or the dojo or something, you know, just something crazy, right? Just some super anime shit. But it turns out that's not what happens. And I knew that's not what was going to happen because, like I said, in the beginning of the chapter, we found out there's such a thing as a bio ID. And then Nanashi sees what's going on. He's like, yeah, no, Hachimaru can't draw the sword because that's my sword. Like, it has my bio ID on it. So I'm the only one who can unsheath it. And this is where you realize, okay, so the only answer here is for either maybe Hayataro finds Hachimaru's sword and brings it to him, or Nanashi brings Hachimaru his sword, or the more likely scenario, Nanashi is going to have to be the one to unsheath the blade and actually rise to the call of action and fight. Now, the way this was executed, I'm actually very happy with, because like I said before, I didn't want Nanashi to just draw the sword and all of a sudden be a badass and just take out these bandits all by himself. That just wouldn't have sat right with me. I just wouldn't have liked that. But what they actually do is Nanashi runs over to Hachimaru and unsheaths the blade, like with Hachimaru's hand still on it, and then so they're both holding the sword together. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can rock with that. That's cool or whatever, because now you have Hachimaru wielding the sword, but Nanashi's bio ID enabling them to both use it. So then they use the power of teamwork and friendship or whatever, and they both wield the sword together, and they slice straight through the tank. And it's funny because the Pig Brothers like, yeah, my tank is invincible. This is like the Mach number 2. Is like you're not gonna, you can't, we're invincible, dog. Like, you're not breaking through this. And then Hachimaru and Nanashi just slice straight through it, just like, yeah, your tank about as strong as underwear, my dude. Which, by the way, remember the underwear analogy that Daruma made before when he was like, you know, a samurai who leaves the house without a sword might as well be in his underwear? That gets referenced like twice, 2 or 3 times in this chapter. I'm just like, alright, dog, I get it, the underwear thing, whatever. Can we move on from that already? Anyway, pigs are defeated. Hayataro finds Hachimaru's sword, returns it to him. Hooray, hooray. Nanashi and Hachimaru save the day. #bars. Now, the dialogue that takes place between Nanashi and Hachimaru after they defeat the pigs is really interesting to me, because I, obviously, as most people probably would, and as I said before, expected Nanashi to become like, you know, Hachimaru's like new best friend, and they go on these adventures together, and they're like low-key rivals, and Hachimaru's probably going to be more skilled and talented than him, but Nanashi will have his own growth and development or whatever. And that still may be the case in some way, shape, or form, but Nanashi's just like, I don't actually want to be your friend. And I was just like, excuse me? You were just jealous of these kids for going goo goo gaga over Hachimaru, and you were talking to your hands about how you were, you know, you wanted him to be your friend, and then you just said you don't want to be his friend. Like, I don't get it. And then Hachimaru, funnily enough, kind of just keeps it G. He's like, you don't want to be my friend? Well, fuck you too then. But funnily enough, Nanashi's like, wait, that's not what I meant. I just meant like, I don't want to cut a tank with you. I want to cut a cake with you. And I'm just like Hachimaru, I'm like, dog, you're not making no type of sense. But he's like, okay, one day I'll be a samurai, I'll have an actual name, and then I'll be able to explain it better. So I guess for the time being, they probably are still going to be rivals, or maybe Nanashi's just going to be like, you know, off screen, honing his skills, training to become an actual samurai, and then he'll show up back in the story again later when he has become a samurai, and then we'll see what goes on from there. Maybe they'll be friends, maybe they'll be rivals, maybe they'll be enemies, who knows. But for the time being, Nanashi seemingly is not going to be Hachimaru's companion who's going to go explore space with him right away. So after this conversation takes place, we cut back to Master Daruma and Hachimaru Hachimaru's father back at Hachimaru's house, and we come to find out that based on the dialogue they're having, that there's probably more to Hachimaru's dad than we might have thought, because he doesn't seem like a super important character, but apparently he's going to play a larger role in things to come than we thought, because the samurai soul that Daruma has, that he's showing off, that was hidden away inside Hachimaru, he's like, yeah, this isn't just any old ordinary like soul. This is like a heart's blade. Like, this is a really big deal, and this isn't something like a petty thief should have. So like, who are you really? And then Master Daruma, he like, I don't really know how to explain it, but he like shoots out a katana from the soul or whatever, and Hachimaru's dad like doesn't even flinch. So I'm just like, okay, so like, is he actually secretly a badass samurai? Did he used to be a badass samurai? Is he like some ex like Roroni? Did he used to work for the military, for the government or something? Like, I don't know. There's apparently more to him, and we're probably gonna explore his backstory very soon and find out who he really is, and maybe it'll be a secret that we won't find out till later. But either way, that old man high in something. I'm here for it. I'm still here for it. Still not the most exciting chapter, but equally as enjoyable as chapters 1 and 2. I'm looking forward to more. Looking forward to finding out the origin of Hachimaru and his father, who his father actually is, how he acquired this Heart's Blade samurai soul, because it's apparently a very big deal. So I wonder what's up with all that. So that takes care of that. Now, if I still have one major complaint, but then one praise, I guess, to kind of balance it out. If I have one big complaint, is that the artwork is still very cluttered. Again, it's only 3 chapters, so I do believe that with time, Akira Kubo will, you know, get a little more comfortable, relax, ease up, and make the fighting and the action a lot easier to follow and make things on the page a lot more clear, because that's a really big thing for me. Artwork plays a huge part in manga. I feel like artwork is half of the manga, because manga is obviously a very visual medium, so I feel like the artwork plays a very important role, and if it's hard to tell what's going on in a battle series, there's an issue. So that's why I'm going to keep mentioning it until it improves, or if it continues to be a problem, it's going to be something I'll continue to mention, because I feel like it is a very valid thing to acknowledge, for lack of a better word, and being redundant because I'm drawing a blank, but you get what I mean. Now, I won't harp on it for like 100 chapters straight, but it's just something I care a lot about and I'm very passionate about, so that's why I keep bringing it up. However, as for the biggest praise I have for this chapter, it is the fact that Nanashi didn't just outright just become this really cool samurai, and it's like, no, he just helped Hachimaru like unsheath the blade, and then he just kind of swung it with him. I'm like, okay, that's cool, that's fine. I'm happy they did it that way, because I was reading the chapter, I was like, if Nanashi just draws out this sword and he just takes them all down by himself, I'm not gonna like it, as I'm just not gonna be happy, and they didn't go that route, so I'm very happy with that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of this chapter? Do you have any theories or anything going forward? Are you still enjoying it? Are you keeping up with it week to week like I am? And I know this chapter review is a little late. It's like, for me, the chapters come out on Sundays. Today's Tuesday, and I will get this video up same day. So yeah, I know I'm a little late. I apologize. I don't really have an excuse other than just be like, life, it'd be like that sometimes, hold that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Hit this video like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, so you can stay tuned for all those content I plan on bringing you. And with all that being said, the stream's off today, and remember, nothing can happen till you swing the bat. Later.